Hello guys and welcome. In this video I'm going to be showing you the shutdown procedure. Imagine you've just finished work for the day and you've still got your barista station to clean up. That's happened to me multiple times over my career. So I'm going to share a few tips and strategies on how to prioritize what to clean first. So I'm just going to get straight into it. Firstly, you have to think about your hand health over a long period of time. So I find these nitrile disposable gloves are just the best for me. I've never had a problem with dermatitis since using these. They're not really heat resistant, but they are going to stop a bit of hot water. They're going to stop the coffee grinds and any other sort of irritants. Now you've got to think about each cleaning task and how long each one's going to take. And I know from experience that this Ubermilk takes about 30 minutes to clean, but it's 30 minutes of just running through a few steps. Like there's about 20 minutes there where it just does its own thing. So we're going to follow the instructions. I already know the instructions, so I'm going to start preparing. Need these little buckets. Go to the cleaning process. Take off that little bit there. Catch. So we needed these two containers. One's got a little bit of water in it. The idea is to flush out any milk that's in the system, then it puts some chemicals into the system, and then flush those chemicals out with more water. So some of these stages don't take very long. Two types of chemicals, one's an acidic one, one's a basic one, and the Ubermilk system is going to tell you which one you need to use. So I've got another 15 seconds, and seconds are valuable to a barista. So in the meantime, just worry about doing a bit of a tidy, getting rid of any coffee that's still in the machine. That's finished now. We want to empty this container and we're going to put some chemicals in. Might as well do this step over at the sink since I've already got to wait. Putting 2 litres of water in the chemicals. So I'm constantly moving, I'm constantly working on the next task, but I've got a strategy in mind. Let's work through that. That's going to be 22 minutes it's going to give us. So it's not the best task to have right at the end of the day. I'm going to break down all the different portafilters and give them a good clean. But in the meantime, you want to be taking advantage of this coffee machine's auto cleaning cycle. You put a little bit of this espresso machine cleaner in. The idea is you just want to overfill it a little bit with some water, and the idea behind that is you're going to get into the seals, and that's going to help get rid of some of that espresso that's still stuck up there. Now each machine is different, but to do the cleaning cycle for this machine, hold down on both of these buttons, and that's going to initiate it says group 1 back flushing. And when you see that, you know it's going to just go through for about 10 cycles, maybe 15 cycles. We do that twice, and then that machine is, or that group head is done, and we just repeat that for all of these ones. So at the same time, while we're doing that, we're going to be cleaning these little portafilters. So the idea is, we just want to grab and pull the basket out. Some of them might be a bit harder to do. You may need a scouring pad, you might need a chucks cloth. These haven't seen much work today, so they're going to be pretty easy to clean. The underside does get some splashes of espresso, so it's important to also give that a little wipe. These tend to get coffee grinds just underneath the lip there and on the bottom here. So a scourer works a lot better in this case. Just be careful not to cut yourself. I like to put this end bit just underneath, and then we just move that around underneath the water. And be careful not to jam your skin in this. So I just like to have my hand flat, and that's done. So you can just leave it on a towel to drain. So that's that done, and I can hear that this first cycle has already been completed. So now we want to get rid of any of the coffee grinds, let that run clear, and then we want to do the same thing, let it overfill a few times. And then we move on to the next flush. We want to do 2 flushes for each group handle. So do this as often as you get a chance to. Put our milks, don't leave these on the bench overnight if they've been opened. Put those back in the fridge. Got another 18 minutes left on the Ubermilk. We have these jugs that we used earlier. I want to give these a little clean as well. It might be hard to see, but you want the bottom of the jug to be as clean as possible. In some of these other jugs that get used a lot, that builds up with a little bit of milk residue over time. So we want to give that a good scrub. We can use this creme cleanser. We use this probably twice a week on Wednesdays and Fridays. And in between, I just like to use a regular dishwashing liquid. Just need a little bit in there. And this is what I mean about being efficient. This first one is just finished. I've got an ear out for it. Final little overflow. Put a bit more chemical into this next one. And then repeat the process. Try and fit your hand into the jug and try and push right down to the bottom, because that's how this milk residue builds up if you don't give it a good enough clean at the bottom. You want to do the inside of the jug, you want to do the outside of the jug. Right underneath this spout here we tend to get a little bit of residue as well. Give the whole jug a polish. And this is why I only take 4 or 5 jugs and regularly rinse them instead of using every single jug, because then that means at the end of the day I only have 4 jugs to clean. I don't have to do this for the 16 or so jugs that I have out there. This is a good time as well if you have a jug that you've been using with a spoon for stirring. Do this at the same time. I don't have to give these as good a clean because I haven't used them much today. But at the end of a very busy day, you might have a bit more polishing to do. Just want to rinse them off. And we'll leave them upside down to drain. It's good to have a little area like this. Okay, I can hear that one has finished, so we're going to clean this, do another cycle. And now most of this coffee machine has been cleaned. There are 2 parts to the tray here. So there's this little grill that sits inside. and there's the tray itself, which just comes out as well. I'm going to leave the tray in at this point because there is still going to be a little bit of water that's going to splash down, and that's going to drain away. So if you didn't have this, it's going to go onto the bench, but I can wash this in the meantime. Underside is finished, and we just want to leave this in a good spot. So for me, might be right here. Here we are. Any other bits and pieces to clean up? You can wipe the bench at this stage, but the problem is I'm still cleaning up here and there's going to be a few more water splatters that come out. So instead I'm going to work on doing this jug rinser. You want to take a look over here. It doesn't take very long for the froth to go right to the edges here, and that will build up over the day. So I've only used this probably 10 times today, and look at how much chocolate and foam and stuff that you get from it. So this just works the same way as a regular grill. You can see along the side, that's where a lot of the froth gets to as well. I can just hear this other one's finished. So you have to do a lot of stopping and starting. That does mean that you have a lot of chances to forget what you're doing. But if you've got enough experience at doing everything, you'll remember and get it done. So I only have one more flush to do after this, and then all of this bit here is clean, and then I can worry about the tray and inside there. So while that's going on, you can see that if I was just standing around waiting, I wouldn't have been able to get all of this done at the same time. So the trick is to always be doing something, even if that is wiping down the bench. Now this one's been cleaned, just going to leave it in another easy spot there to remember. And now we're going to clean this. So the very first step is just to wipe out all of this. So the actual drainage hole is just right here. That's where the pipe goes down and gets rid of all of that milk and water. So we just want to drag all of that stuff towards the drainage area. You might have to do this, depending on how clean or dirty it is, you might have to do this 3 or 4 times. It's almost good enough to leave at this point, but the problem is, because a lot of milk wastage goes down here, the pipe is going to be blocked up with milk overnight. Very slowly, but then all of a sudden you've got no drainage. So the other points you have to think about are just right around the seal. That's where some of the milk can gather. Right underneath this, where the plate sits. Along the, or any part of this really, this moisture here. Right down each of those spokes, and right in the corners. Right where the corners are, that's where a lot of the foam and milk builds up. One more time. So it does depend on what sort of equipment you have. You might not have a jug rinser, so you don't have to do this. You might not have an Ubermilk, so you don't have to worry about that. Now this one is almost clean. We have one more step to do, but I'm just going to quickly finish off this last one. Let it overflow, let the coffee grinds go out. As you can see, you do get more splashes on the bench, so that's why I haven't wiped it down. One last cycle. So for this one, the idea is to fill up a jug with a lot of water, and then we want to flush that water down the pipe there. You can use boiling water, you can use really hot water. You can even disassemble this piece here and you can have a plunger, and the plunger will help to draw out any of the milk that's been in there. You can do this as many times as you like. I'm just going to do it once for this video since I haven't really used the jug rinser much today. That's going to drain away. I can very comfortably leave that. And because it's been cleaned, you have two options. If you don't serve any more customers today, if the shop is actually closed, you can just put this straight back on. But if you are still serving customers and you put this back on, sometimes I've reflexively used it to clean jugs and then it's got dirty again, so just keep that in mind as well. Now, because I'm doing this last cycle here, that means I'm not going to need to use this tray anymore, so I can take this tray out. And I'm just going to leave it down here as well, because we have one more step to finish off this one here. This is less of a concern than the jug rinser because you generally don't put any milk down here, but coffee grinds from the espresso extractions can get down there and they can block it up. So just show you a bit better. So this is a little drip tray. And we just want to put some water down there. Normally I'd put about 2 or 3 of these jugs in, but since we didn't really use the machine much today, I'm just going to put 1 jug down and that should be enough. You want to see it clear pretty quickly. You may need to unblock it at some point as well. So now that's been done. If you've had a pretty busy day, sometimes you can get some coffee grinds and liquid that's went underneath the machine. And taking this little tray out opens up the whole bottom of the machine. So this is how you can actually get underneath and give it a good wipe. Then we just put that one back in. This one is finished. It's nice and clean now. Now, because I've already flushed out all of this, I'm not anticipating any more hot water or any other liquids on the bench here. So this is a good time to clean the bench space here. But just having a microfiber cloth that you've rinsed out a few times, it's very good for cleaning stainless steel. Just wiping it. Just wipe all of the button areas. You can even do the handle for the steam wand as well. And right behind on this little bit here. So these are all bits that you see, not the customers. So it's not as important, but it just makes it look really clean. And then when you've worked your way down from the machine, so from the cleanest bits to the dirtiest bits, then I like to finish off just wiping down the bench. Get rid of any chocolate grinds, chocolate and coffee grinds. Doesn't have to be perfect, just giving it a really good wipe like that. Going to help out a lot. And if we're not using the coffee machine anymore, like you're closed, we put the tray back in, and this is a good moment to also put all of the group handles back in. You want to leave them in overnight if you leave your coffee machines on, just so that they're nice and hot and ready to go. If they're cold, they won't extract coffee in the same way. Let's see, I've done that, it's been done. It's starting to look really good. So this is the reason why I went onto the Ubermilk straight away. We've got another 6 minutes left of this cycle here, but when this finishes, it's only another 2 or 3 minutes to get that final piece done. That's why I made a start on it straight away, because if I started to do this right now, then I'd have to wait another 25 minutes. So you start the slowest thing first and get that out the way. While we've got time, I'd just like to wipe down the jugs, make sure that they're nice and dry, put it back to the sink. This is not 100% necessary, but if you've got time to do it, then it might make the start of your day a little bit easier. You might be helping your future self more than you're helping your current self. So now that's looking pretty clean. The bench is done. Sometimes if you're not sure what you've done or what you haven't done, just start at one side. Look at the jug rinser, yes, I've cleaned that, everything's been done there. Look at the coffee machine, everything's been clean, the tray's been clean. You kind of look down, you're like, the rubbish has been sorted. I haven't cleaned the sink quite yet, just because there's one more step left with the Ubermilk where you've got to use the sink. But other than that, it's looking really good. There is another component to the Ubermilk here, which is just this little tray, catchment tray kind of thing. So let's see if I can do this. Yes, that's balanced. So you could do something like that to take this tray to clean it while you've got another 4 minutes left on there. If you're unsure of how to clean, start off with the trucks and some dishwashing liquid. If you have stubborn stains and it's a metal that is good, then you can probably use the creme cleanser. So the most dirtiest parts that you can get for this bit here are sometimes within all of these circles, you can get a little bit of milk that gets stuck there. So just give that a bit of an examination. And where this sits into the tray here, you can get milk that goes up in that tray and it's going to touch the sides of this. So you look at the sides, and just examine if there's any milk that's been dried on there. There's like a little bit. And on the insides as well. The insides can be particularly bad after a long day. So just give that all a nice clean. And then that final tray. Well, it depends on where you store your jugs, but if you store them in a nice place like this, you can just give this a nice little wipe down as well. I'm still going to use the sink itself for doing that final part of the Ubermilk, so I won't clean that, but I can clean this. Stainless steel benches are so good, because you can just look at them and they might have a few grinds on them, and you can just give them a wipe. And they'll come up really nicely. You will need to move some of these things to clean underneath them at some point, but just wiping the bench is good. The best thing about doing this little tray here now is that when you get to that final stage of the Ubermilk, you can just put this clean tray back and you don't have to worry about doing that. Sometimes you have to change the way that you clean things just to make it fit in better. As you notice, there was a lot of stopping and starting when I was cleaning the group heads with the chemicals. So this one's all clean. I'm just going to bring it back to the Ubermilk. And we only have 1.5 minutes left on here. So at this point you can just give the interface itself a bit of a wipe. This is safe to wipe across. This is a touch screen, so it is going to get some like fingerprints on it. It's going to get some dried milk on it. It might get some coffee grinds on it. And you can just wipe the outer casing with a microfiber cloth just to make it look nice and presentable. If you've done everything else and you've only got a tiny bit of time left, you can get your personal belongings all sorted, get your wallet, get your phone, get your keys, make sure you don't leave anything behind in the shop. But as a barista, you're going to be pretty used to wiping things down with a microfiber cloth that you can see are dirty. As a quick aside, you really have to keep on top of cleaning the Ubermilk because it's got a lot of fine tubing inside, and if it gets blocked up because you haven't cleaned it, it's going to cost you a lot of money to get it unblocked by the coffee technicians. If you have any worries about cleaning it, all you have to do is follow these instructions. So now that we've finished up that step 2, we're going to look at the step 3. So we empty and rinse container 2. This is our container 2. Just be careful of having any remnant chemicals from that container, because sometimes I went home and realized I've had a bit of a burn on my arm, and I was like, okay, it's a bit sore, and then I look and it's turned into a red welt. So if you do get any liquid from this process onto your arms, make sure to run them under under water, just to get rid of any chemical splashes. So now we look at the next bit. Oh, okay, I'm going to leave that there. Put this one back in, and we're just going to flush. We've got the cleaning chemicals in there, so now we're just using 2 litres of clear water just to go through and get rid of all of the chemicals. You'll probably be able to see a little bit of chemical in there as well. So that's a 90-second process. After that, it's clean. All we have to do is just wipe where the milk has been coming out. We can also wipe this lead as well. This is where wearing gloves is very helpful, because it's not protecting against heat, but it is protecting against chemicals. Now we just wait. Okay, we're getting ready for the final stage. Let's quickly read it. So clean intake tube and nozzle with a damp cloth. This is clean and still damp. We're going to empty both containers. Just be careful of this one, it can be still quite hot. Okay, that bit's done. So because we've already wiped a lot of the machine, all we have to do is, this is where the nozzle was screwed in, and you can get a little bit of milk that builds up over the day inside there. So give it a really good clean inside there first. Think of that as the first thing you want to clean, and then the secondary things are just the splash back. And then we want to actually wipe this tube properly. It might have some chemicals on it still, so give that a wipe, and then we want to keep it out of the way. Wipe underneath, put that one back in that's already been clean. Final step is just turn it off, and that is your job clean. Everything's clean now, everything's done, and we can walk out and finish for the day. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You might not have all of these pieces of equipment, but this is the process that I personally use to make sure that I get absolutely everything done in a convenient, logical, strategical way, so that you can get out of work as fast as you can. See you in the next video.